afternoon, folks. Subject is starting to get more and more in the news, and you'll see it more and more and more in the news because it's a very, very serious problem. But what I haven't seen is anybody explain it worth a damn. That's the problem. Is the news will they'll tell you kind of what's happening, but they got to be careful about who they blame for it, you know, who they call out, because they've all gotten so tied up in politics and everything nowadays. They can't just come out and just tell you the daggum truth. But here it is, in a simplified manner. Got a bunch of ships sitting at anchor that can't get unloaded. Why can't they get unloaded? They ain't got no place to unload to. Now let's do it in steps. We'll do it in real simple numbers. These aren't the right numbers. Just real simple numbers, just so you can grasp it, and then you can extrapolate from there, and it'll explain itself. Okay, let's say a port is 100 acres. On that 100 acres, you can fit X number of containers. If they stack them 8 high and cover every inch dirt, let's say it's 100,000 containers. Okay. Not only do you have full containers, but you have empty containers. Because after they take the product out and drop it, they bring the container and chassis back. Okay, let's use Long Beach for example. That's out in California, and that's the one that kind of started all this. And it's really the one we need to pull from, because this is the one where the government screwed up. About 5, 6, 7 years ago, California came up with a bunch of new rules for trucks operating on port facilities. They could only be so old. They had to meet certain emission standards. They had to meet certain safety standards. This, that, and the other. They come up with 1,000 new rules. And to go, what it was is there were a bunch of people that were hauling them containers. They were just old owner operators driving an older paid off truck, and it was a 9 to 5 job for them. They go to work, haul so many containers, and they go home. Well, see, the big companies wanted to get in on that container hauling business, the big mega carriers, and they couldn't, because all those owner operators were cutting their throat. They'd haul them containers for nothing. Well, when big companies want something done, they get their biggest buddy, the U.S. government or the state government, throw a little money their way, and lo and behold, stuff just falls in their way. Well, they come up with all these rules. They got the trucks thrown off the ports. So all of a sudden, instantly, you had a truck shortage because there weren't enough trucks. Well, for a while it was good. Then COVID happened. Well, with the just-in-time delivery thing screwing up with COVID and all your supply chain issues with COVID, the cheapest freight you can pull out there is container freight. There's that freight that comes in from overseas in those containers, delivering those containers is bottom dollar. It pays nothing. Well, when all of a sudden there became a shortage of trucks out here on the road, freight started going up. You know, what chicken's paying, what this is paying, what that's paying. What do you think the first freight that got dropped was? By the big companies. Now, see, them big companies don't care. They put all them owner operators out of business. Those owner operators were doing a good job. And had they not put them owner operators out, those owner operators would still be doing that same job today. because they enjoyed it. And they probably making a little more money doing it. No. They made the decision and ruined it. And then once the money flowed the other way, they jumped ship. So here's what you got. You got 100 acres, like I said, holds 100,000 containers. You have 1,000 trucks. Can pull, let's say, 25,000 containers off there a day. That's impossible. Couldn't that be 25 loads a day? Okay, just say 1,000 trucks pull 1,000 containers off there a day. Well, there also, a lot of those trucks are bringing back empty containers, filling space.
Continue on route.
And which now that over in China, they're in such desperate need of the ships, which they're in desperate need of the containers too, but they're not taking the time to load the containers back up and take them back with them. So my point being is, you got X size piece of land, holds X size containers. Now take that 1,000 trucks that was taking 1,000 containers a day, drop that to 200 trucks. Well, them ships are still there wanting to dump their 1,000 containers a day. But the trucks aren't there to take the 1,000 containers a day away. That 100 acres fills up real quick. And once it's full, it's full. That's it. There ain't no room for no more. We'll see what happens then. It started in Long Beach. That was the root of it. Well, then they started diverting ships to Seattle, San Francisco, send them to the Panama Canal to New Orleans or Jacksonville. Now all of a sudden these ports are getting more ships than they were handled now, or designed to handle. And they're still, and they got the same trucking issues, just not as bad as California, because their politicians didn't make quite as dumb rules. But they do. I mean, it's cheap freight, and people are hauling the good paying freight right now. It's just the way it is. I mean, if I can haul that container for $1 a mile, or I can haul a load of Dixie cups for $3.50 a mile, what am I going to do? You know, but it's not a container problem. It's not a shipping problem. It's not a problem really, even with the ports. It all boils down to these trucks. It takes so many of these trucks every day to move X amount of freight around this country. And I don't know if y'all been to the grocery store lately and really looked around. Freight ain't moving. It ain't moving like it ought to. And here we are, what, 2 months from Christmas? Roughly. Notice what you don't see on TV? You don't see Christmas ads, Christmas shows. You don't hear Christmas music on the radio. Usually by now, some stations blaring Christmas music. You're not hearing not a peep about Christmas. It's going to boil down. You're not going to hear much about Thanksgiving. There's going to be shortages there too. I watch a bunch of farming YouTube channels, and I noticed something this year. I've watched them for years. Just farming fascinates me, and this year, a lot of these farms have ethanol plants they sell to. Ethanol for gasoline. They were paying these farms premiums, which means extra money per bushel of corn, to pick their corn wet, to pick it early, and just go ahead and sell it to them. And a lot of people don't know is with produce and corn, especially corn and soybeans, they pick that corn, they harvest it in the fall, and they keep it on them farms in big bins you see. Those are full of corn and soybeans, because once it's dry, it'll keep forever, or at least for a very long time. And then they sell it throughout the year as they get good prices on the commodities market. They sell it. Right now, corn and soybeans are sky high, so they're selling everything they got. You know what that means? It means come about March, we ain't gonna have no corn. Same thing happened here a few years back with apples. It was but when it just happens with one small product, people don't notice it that much. Well, if you knew everything that corn and soybeans goes into, it's not one small product anymore. Corn is almost like diesel fuel. It just about goes into everything made today. Whether it's actually in the product, or it's feeding the meat that's in the product, or making the preservatives that's in the product, corn is everywhere. But I'm getting off subject here. We're talking about ports. But in a nutshell, that's our problem with the ports. You got so much dirt at the port, you can cover it with containers. Steady number of ships comes in, steady number of trucks is supposed to go out. You take one little card out of that house of cards, and it all comes tumbling down. They've really had two took out because the railroads are all screwed up now too. They normally haul a lot of those containers from the West Coast to Chicago on trains. And then they got a big, what they call an inland port in Chicago, where it gets distributed out from there, because Chicago's a pretty good center of the country. Well, same problem. They don't have trucks taking them out of the inland port. Now they got full trains backed up that they can't unload. Well, if it's a full train, it can't go back and get more containers. So it's compounding. And we're nowhere near the end of it. Hold on to your socks, folks, because it's going to be a bumpy ride. And I read an article this week or last week that people are getting highly upset because ships that had Amazon or Costco products on them were being allowed to jump the line. It's more of that wonderful government spread the money around to get what you want. Our system right now is so damn corrupt. I almost think we're going to have a meltdown just to half-ass fix it. It's corrupt at every level. Like but that's it in a nutshell. Until the trucking problem gets fixed, they're doing it. And they're doing everything they can to fix it. I started this company 14 years ago, and I just officially doubled what I started pay as. Never dreamed this company paid this much money, and there's people out there paying more. I'd say about this company paying that much. I didn't, never in my life dreamed it, but here we are. They're trying to throw money at it, and of course you got the ones out there throwing gimmicks at it. Gimmicks ain't gonna get it, not in these times. Ain't but one thing gonna make it. It's gonna unseat a driver from one company to go to another. Money, and lots of it. There's no reason today that your average truck driver, and I'm talking about your average truck driver, not special haul freight, not hazmat or whatever. They should be making more. Shouldn't be making six figures. For the amount of work he puts in and what wages are on an average job, truck drivers should easily be turning $100,000 a year. And he's not. They got a lot of catching up to do. At least now, where we seem to be well on the north side of 50. I mean, I know I make between 60 and 70, and I know people, I know drivers out there turning 70 to 80. Even though a couple north of 80. So it's creeping in that direction. The key, though, is to build wealth. For you to get wealthier, your pay has to go up faster than the rate of inflation. If your pay goes up 5% and inflation goes up 10%, what have you done? So it's a real struggle, because trucking is a rough job. Not just everybody's going to drive a truck. They're either going to have to figure out ways to put more truckers out here, or different ways to move their freight. My opinion is the way it's going to go in the future is more hub and spoke distribution. What that means is you'll have a hub in Atlanta, think of an old wagon wheel with all the spokes going out. A train will bring in all the containers to Atlanta. Won't be no more over the road driving. It'll be all regional. And then you have regional drivers come into Atlanta, pick up the containers and distribute them. You're going to see more and more of that. A lot of your big companies are doing that now. Your average Swift driver, he'll pick a load up in Atlanta and he'll haul it to, I don't know, St. Louis. Well, he's out of hours at that point, so he drops the trailer on a lot. Another driver grabs it. He hauls it, to Oklahoma City. Then he's out of hours, so he drops it on a lot. Another driver grabs it. That's how they get it cross country. And I look for them to go to just about all hub and spoke. They're
in 3/4 of a mile, exit right.
And that'll work both ways. Like all your plants that are in that area of Atlanta, they'll haul into that rail yard, and then take it out to other hubs. And I think we'll see. I've already seen more hot shot. You see a lot. You know, there's for a long time. Well, we've all done it. Pulled a load. I got a 53-foot trailer and pull 4 or 5 pallets somewhere, and people are paying for a whole truck to move 4 or 5 pallets. Well, I think that's you're going to see more and more hot shot, expedited, because you can put non-CDL drivers in those, or CDLB or whatever. I don't know exactly, but not a full-blown CDLA driver. If he doesn't have that CDL, well, you ain't got to pay him as much money. I look for that, but that'll take years and years to implement. I don't know what we're going to do to that point.
Continue on route.
But I'm just rambling now. Y'all got my point. That's the point I was trying to get across. Is that the news wasn't. They're just not. Well, I guess they don't explain it well because they don't know it well. You know, they try to act like experts on the subject, but your big trucking companies aren't going to. And first thing they do when they have thing is they go get, you know, Joe Thompson from JB Hunt, some executive vice director of transportation for the East Southern Canary Islands, and put him up there as an expert, trucking expert. He sweeps floors for JB Hunt. He's a smart guy. But they'll put him up there, and the last thing he's going to say is that we got a truck driver shortage. Oh, what? Because we don't pay him enough money. You know, we can't hire drivers because we treat them like dog shit. And they're tired of being treated like dog shit, so they ain't gonna drive for us no more. So they come out with figures about the longshoremen, and it takes X number, and it's thousands of containers, and backup in China, and this, that, and they'll tell you 1,000 reasons why, but ain't one of them the real reason. It's real simple. Too many containers, not enough trucks. And then you can pull it out from there. Why isn't there enough trucks? You know, it's once you lock in on the sole root cause of something, it's easy to figure out what's causing it, because you've broke through the truth barrier. You know, they want to keep your head spinning and don't want you to know the real truth, and so you'll blame this person or that person. I see people blaming Donald Trump for the ports. I'll tell you who should be Donald Trump's best friend. Should send him. You should send him a Christmas card 5 times a year. And that's George Bush. Because before Donald Trump come around, George Bush got blamed for everything. Damn rock come falling out of the sky and busted down somebody's house. It was George Bush's fault. He has a weather machine. I mean, he got blamed for everything, poor guy. But boy, when Trump come around, and he took all that load off old Mr. Bush. Now Trump gets blamed for anything. Do you ever wonder why we never have a Democrat whipping boy like this? I can go back for years. Right now, Trump's the whipping boy. Before that, Bush Bush the son was the whipping boy. They kind of liked Bush the daddy because they could scam him pretty good, but Reagan, boy, he was just a dumb old actor. He was a whipping boy. Before Reagan, it went to Nixon because Nixon was a crook. And now look what we skipped there between Reagan and Nixon. Jimmy Carter. And now I just look at the fool we got. We got Jimmy Carter's dumb cousin in the White House now. The only difference was Jimmy Carter was an honorable man. He was just an awful president, but he was a generally honorable man. He wanted to do good for people. Now we got Jimmy Carter without the honorable. But somehow or another, all this stuff that's happening today is still Trump's fault. Ain't been in office 2 years. They're going on 2 years. And somehow or another, it's all his fault. All this crap going on. It's amazing. But there's never a Democrat whipping boy, ever. I mean, old Bill Clinton, he can pull all the shit he pulled. The only thing is, Bill Clinton actually did a pretty decent job. But he was the butt of a lot of jokes, but he wasn't their whipping boy. Sit back and think about that next time you watch the news and see who they're going after. Just start taking mental notes. It'll come to you soon enough. Like I said, I've rambled on long enough. This video gonna be 30 minutes long. Y'all take care, and I'll catch you on the flip side.